Hello there, this is Hector Vladimir again, this third episode of Living Off the Grid in the City. And I just wanted to, in this short episode, discuss two main points, two quick points about the disadvantages of being part of the current energy system or supporting it. I wanted to cover a few points on how the system is addictive and will make you depend on it. I went over some of this aspect very briefly in the last first show, I believe it was. But since I went over it very broadly, I would like to zoom in and develop a bit more. Also, I would like to discuss or develop a bit further the disadvantage when it comes to war and conflict. I did touch on this topic on episode 2, but I would like to again revisit this topic and expand just a bit more on this very important disadvantage. First, dependence. I advocate alternative energies in very large part because of independence, the ability to be independent from centralized power production. I believe this to be very important because dependence is many times a dangerous situation. At the very least, it could be quite inconvenient or become quite inconvenient. It could be dangerous, I believe, because when you depend on something outside of yourself, outside of your immediate access, capabilities, skill, you're exposing yourself to all kinds of problems, failures, setbacks. Even your own safety could be at risk. For example, if you're an elderly person or a very young person in the care of an adult that completely depends on company-provided electric power, for example, and there is a unexpected power outage like they often occur due to either malfunctions or natural events, you could be putting yourself at health risk or even safety risk if you completely depend on this system and have no other way of providing yourself or the one that you're caring for with the services and the functions provided by electric power. For example, if you have a disability like a breathing disability, some kind of heart issues, cardiovascular disability, or you need a machine that must be energized to operate, and you depend on this outlet power that's coming out of your wall for this machine, very critical machine, to operate, you're very foolishly and naively exposing yourself to becoming very ill or even die if the power were to go out, which is very common in many areas. Power outages, brownouts, blackouts are not unusual in a lot of areas, even here in the United States, more so in other countries here in the Americas. So it is quite inconvenient and even dangerous to completely depend on grid power, usually single provider. And this is because not only for disabled persons, but it could also extend to just a regular average person. You depend completely on power, have no way of backing it up, no way of having any kind of backup power. Your life could become very inconvenient in the blink of an eye, literally. The power goes out, you have no way of charging any communication devices, as many people have now only cell phone service. What good is a cell phone without any charged batteries? What good is a tablet or laptop device without any kind of power to operate it? Even though you may have the internet service intact, however you may have it through cell phone service, what good is that service without any power? So becoming completely dependent on company-provided power is, at the very least, highly inconvenient. It could be dangerous to health, to disabled folks, because of the many medical apparatus that need that power. A lot of them do have batteries, but batteries do discharge. Not only disabled folks, but regular folk could become sick and even die. Young babies, infants, very elderly folk could become ill during very hot or very cold periods. Many areas here of the United States get quite hot in the summer, climbing into the triple digits. This could become a very dangerous situation, especially inside of homes where ventilation is not optimal, where the homes designed in many areas that I've seen from my experience, they're just furnaces. They're not well ventilated, They have very small amount of windows. Windows are rather small, and it's a pain to open up some of these windows. I mean, the homes in many areas of the country, perhaps most, are just designed to have an AC cranked up inside 24/7. They're not conducive to you trying to save energy by opening up windows and just letting fresh air in. They're designed to keep an artificial atmosphere going by a powerful AC, a power hog AC. So it could become a dangerous situation if power were to go out and you had no way of backing that power up or replacing it with your own means, local means. Hot weather, cold weather, very humid weather, very dry weather could affect health, could impact health, and very dramatically in some individuals. For example, in France, there was a massive heat wave that swept through the country. And this is a European nation that has a lot of homes that are well ventilated. They're not designed to have any AC units providing a completely manufactured atmosphere inside. I mean, these homes are designed to ventilate and keep the home cool in the summer and warm in the winter. And even then, they had very many power outages combined with very hot weather, a heat wave that was a record breaker. And this caused many deaths, especially of infants and elderly folks.
Estimated to have caused about 70,000 deaths in Europe.
Going back to my point of dependence on traditional electric grid is highly inconvenient at times and even dangerous. I will go into ways to offset this, not in this episode, but in future episodes, as this episode stays within the theme of disadvantages of supporting the current grid system. The power company delights itself in knowing that they're the only show in town. That's nearly absolute power over your funds, over your care, and this is dangerous. This dependence opens all kinds of opportunities for abuse, opens all kinds of chances for neglect in part of the company to customers, even though this is not apparent, but it is a reality. This reality is just delivered by the situation. If you have a situation where one party has a lot of power and the other party is just defenseless, I mean, even though there may be an agreement for abuse not to take place, I mean, the potential is just there. It could happen in any minute. The snap of a finger, and one party is at a very, very inconvenient disadvantage and suffering. The other is just with a slight grin, with his hands crossed, just waiting for the party at a disadvantage to deliver and pay up. So dependence is very inconvenient, and it's just wrong and immoral in my mind. There should always be some type of balance. The way the system is set up right now, that balance is highly skewed towards the power company. They have the power, even though it's supposedly controlled, to shut you off, as they often do when there's a non-payment, and deny service until payment is delivered, which is very many times abusive, unfair, and just is very inconvenient. The high rate of charges, which by the way changes from time to time depending on the time of the year, especially during high demand periods, the rates go up. This is to maximize the power company's income or the power company's bottom line. There's no other explanation for it. Yes, they claim it's for maintenance. Yes, they claim it's to maintain the infrastructure. But for example, in Florida, when a hurricane comes through and your power goes out for 2 weeks and you get a bill that's twice as large as the one you're used to, that tells you that the 2 weeks that you had no power, there's no discount there. If there is a discount, if the power was not charged during that time, the profit is made up just by raising the rate of the power that you did get that month. They cover all of the repairs and all of the reconnections and infrastructure maintenance with the customer's money. And this is not a fund that they have, that they tap into whenever they need to, from the regular charges that they make every month to all their customers. The power companies seem to raise their rates to cover for future projects, to cover for natural disasters, to cover for high demand periods. If it was a halfway fair system, there would be no noticeable or drastic change in your rate, hourly rate for power. They call it kilowatt hour. There would be no drastic increase on your kilowatt hour rate. But unfortunately, this doesn't happen. There is. Oftentimes, when there is a heat wave or winter storm come through, your power rate goes up dramatically. Your kilowatt hour rate. It's not your consumption. I've gotten power bills that are more than double of my usual power consumption. And even though I know this is not true because of my habits do not change, let alone double from one month to the next as far as power consumption. But yet I get these bills that are sometimes 3 times as much as some other months throughout the year. I'm a very conscious power user. I do have power from the grid, as minimal as possible, but I still do have it. And this is out of necessity. And the savings are just not reflected 9 times out of 10. The savings I try to achieve are not reflected on my power bill. And this is an experience that many people have had, that I've shared with. Many people complain no matter what they do, no matter how much power they try to save, their power bill seems to be the same or more. And I believe this is just a pattern. This is just something that happens very consciously in part of the power company, where they jack up rates and even average out usage depending on what time of year, how hot it got during the last month, or what's the power demand from your neighborhood. So it's not just on you, it's on your neighbors, it's on the whole community. Your power bill is going to be higher or lower that month. Don't think for a minute that you watching your meter is going to allow you to get charged for what you used, and that's all. Try it. Write your meter numbers down every month, and you will be disappointed to see that no matter what efforts you put in to save power, you will see that in most areas your power bill will remain about the same, if not climb steadily higher. Everyone, I believe, should be paying for what they use and not a single penny more. And unfortunately, that's not the way it is. That's not the way the system's set up. They claim, they even recognize this, and they say if it was, power would not be affordable. So we basically have what could be called communistic power usage, and we all pay for your neighbor's power use habits, regardless how bad they are. You share some of your neighbor's bill. Otherwise, they say power could not be affordable. So we have to basically, as a community, pay a little bit for everybody's power use. Going back to my points of depending on power being even dangerous. If you cannot function without power, you're putting yourself at risk. Try it. Go for 1 day without power in the United States, in modern society, in the city. And you will see you may not even be able to send your kids to school, go to work, or even live happily. You may go into a slight or even deep depression. Turn off your power. Your food may spoil for most households. You will have zero entertainment. You will have problems navigating at nights. You may not be able to even take showers because the water here in the States is usually so cold, even in the summertime, that it would be like pulling teeth just to take a shower. That cold water would not be a pleasant experience there, something you look forward to doing. You would probably skip showers.